Okay, greetings again from Yerushalayim Merikodesh. Okay, we're going to start from Yud Zayin Amid Beis. We're up to the two dots from the bottom, Tana Rabbanan. Two dots, not from the bottom of the page where it gets wide. Tana Rabbanan. Tana Rabbanan. Kol elu she'amru mutarim legaleach b'mayed. All the people that are permitted to go ahead and take a haircut in Chol Moed. Someone comes out of prison, someone comes out of Medina Sayom, someone who was captive. Mutarim legaleach b'mei avelon. They're able during avelis to go ahead and take a haircut. So in other words, if the same occurred during the Mei Avelis, they will be able to take a haircut. For Tanya Asurim, we have a brisa that's aser, that an Avel could not take a haircut in these scenarios. Some of Christam Rav Shilo ki Tanya Hacha Mutarim is b'shetakfuhu Avelov. Leilenu, the person had double Avelis, one in succession of the other, so he couldn't possibly go ahead and take a haircut. Now the Moed comes, and it's very heavy on his head because of the succession of the Avelis. He's able to take a haircut. It says in other words, if you're telling me that the person had double Avelis, why would only be a person who came out of prison had Avelis, a person who came from overseas had Avelis, any person who had Avelis, regardless of that, those other factors, should be able to take a haircut in Chol Moed because of the succession of the Avelis. What is that? Why do you have to limit it to those additional scenarios? Says the Gemara. Titania kafu Avelo zachazeh. If the Avelis succeeded one after the other, hichbit sa'arai, then make a bit tar. He can go ahead and he could go ahead and alleviate it with a razor. And he can wash his hands, wash his clothing in water. Now, this is not the normal way. A person usually cuts his hair with his scissors, and he washes his hands in detergent and necessary types of soap. So here, there still is a shinoi. You're able to cut your hair, but not in the normal way, and you're able to wash your clothing and not in the normal way. So the Gemara says, as I just said, a razor and not a scissor. With water and not some type of a detergent. Oil, and that oil is aloe. So the bottom line is, and oval also betach baises, and oval would be also betach baises. Okay, with washing his clothing. So the Gemara gives the following teretz, guys. If a person loyalenu was a regular oval, no extenuating circumstances, and he had avelis, one, was succeeded by another Avelis, and he entered the Moed, and he hadn't taken a haircut, he could take a haircut. However, not with a scissor, with a razor. He could wash his clothing, but not in the normal way. Conversely, if he had that extra factor of coming from Medina Sayom, or from being, or getting out of prison, or from being in captivity, then he would be able to take a haircut with a scissor. Then he'd be able to wash his clothing in the normal way. So that's what that added aspect is adding. It goes ahead and allows us to go ahead and take a haircut in the normal way with a scissor, and to wash our clothing in a normal way with a detergent. Mashenkin, if it was just doubled avelis, you would not be able to do it with detergent, nor with a scissor. You'd have to use a razor. So I'm going to this is also meres avol also b'tach baises. Tan rabbanan. Just like we say it's also to take a haircut on the Moed, it's also also to cut your fingernails on the Moed. Again, just like you can't take a haircut, you can't cut your fingernails on the Moed. Rabbi Yehuda, these are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi matter, and Rabbi Yossi, he would permit you to go ahead and take a hair and cut your fingernails on the Moed. Just like an aser, aval is also to take a haircut. So too he's also to go ahead and cut his nails. So we have machlokes across the board. Rabbi Yossi, he goes ahead and he permits you to go ahead and go ahead and to cut your fingernails on the Moed, and he permits you to cut your fingernails on avelis. Taking a haircut, you can't take a haircut, right? But going ahead, right, and cutting your fingernails, Rabbi Yossi is in disagreement, whether it's the Moed or whether it's Avelis. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion you cannot cut your fingernails, and Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion you could cut your fingernails. Rabbi Yehuda, that an Avel not only can't take a haircut, he can't cut his fingernails. That what? He can't cut a haircut, but he could cut his fingernails. So Ula makes a pshara, he makes a compromise. He says, Avelis, I agree with Rabbi Yehuda, you can't cut your nails. However, I agree with, when it comes to Chol Moed, I agree with Rabbi Yossi that you could cut your nails. Omar, says the Gemara, Shmuel Omar, Yud Ches Amid Aleph, Halach Rabbi Yossi ben Moed Uba Avel. Shmuel is more makel than Ula. Ula, who agreed with Rabbi Yehuda by Avelis, Shmuel disagrees. And he says across the board, an Avel and Chol Moed, a person could cut his nails. Dama Shmuel, Loch Kidivya Makel Ba'avel, the halacha is like the one who's being makel by Avelis. And therefore, since Rabbi Yossi, the one that's being makel over here, permitting the cutting of one fingernails, so even Avelis also, you would be able to cut your nails. Pinchas Achua de Mashmuel, Pinchas, the brother of Mashmuel, Isrive Milsa. He lost a relative that he had to be misabel over. Al Shmuel Lemishal, Taimamine. Shmuel came to go ahead and to speak to him. He came to go ahead and be Menachem Avel. And Chazinon the Toifrei the Havinafishin. And Shmuel, who had matted like Rabbi Yossi, and Shmuel said he disagreed with Ula. He had matted cutting fingernails, absorbed that his brother Pinchas had long fingernails. So Amalei Amailoi Shaklas Lahu. So why don't you go ahead and cut your fingernails? So Amalei, so Pinchas said to Shmuel, Ibidi de have mimizalzes bekuli hai. If you were in the same situation, would you go ahead and be mizalzel and not cut your fingernails? So in other words, he kind of alluded to him that you're going to be in the same situation. So there's a pasuk. This pasuk is a pasuk. I think it's in Koheles, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And the pasuk in Koheles is the word goes out. It goes out from the shalit, from the ruler, and even if they didn't mean to say it, it happens. So Pinchas said to Shmuel, if you would be in the same situation, wouldn't you let your nails grow long? And as a result, Shmuel will now be in the same situation of Avelis. And therefore, the Israel Milsa, and it happened to Shmuel. So oil Pinchas Achul Mishal time Minei. So now the tables are reversed, and now Shmuel is coming to the Menachem Avel. Pinchas is coming to Menachem Avel Shmuel, and Shaklinu the Toifrei. Shmuel took his nails, he ripped them off. The Chaftinu La'ape, and he threw it down in the ground in front of Pinchas. And Amalei, lest the bris krusa lisfasayim, says that don't you have a bris that's chorus lisfasayim, your lips that what are chorus. It says, in other words, you said something and it's going to come about. How do you know that there's a bris that's chorus by using your lips? Shenemar vayoma Avram al Na'arav. By the Akedah, Avram turns to his Na'arav, Yishmael and Eliezer. And what does he say to them? Shvu lechem poyim achamor, you stay here with the donkeys. Va'ani v'hanar, and I and the Nar Yitzchak, Nelcha, we will go, ad ko until there, v'nishtachave, and we will bow down, v'noshuvu, and we will return aleichem to you. V'stayim milsa, the Hadar Travayu. And it happened that they both returned. So who adin you, Pinchas, by opening up your mouth and telling me what? If you would be in the same situation, it's an example of what? Of bris krusa bis fasayim, that a person uses his lips in the wrong way, of what can happen as a result. Now, Savmine, he held to say, the yad, you can go ahead and cut your fingernails in the regel, but your toenails low. The regel here doesn't mean on the regel. The regel means the toenails, no. So Amrav Anan bat Tachlifa, the Didim Mefashili Mine de Shmuel, Loishna the Yad, Veloishna the regel. When Shmuel matted the cutting of the fingernails, it wasn't limited to the fingernails, it was extended as well to the toenails. Amrav Kia Barashi, Amrav, who begin Nustara Asa, to use a scissor, a type of scissor that was made for toenails, it would be asa. Amrav Shami bar Abba havikim nekamei the Rabbi Yochanan be midrasha b'chol Moed. I came to find Rabbi Yochanan in the base medrash Chol Moed. V'shaklinu l'toifrei. He took his b'shinei. He used the shinoi, meaning he bit his nails with his teeth. I don't know if Bisman Hazeh biting your nails with your teeth is such a shinoi, but he bit his nails with his teeth, and v'zakrinu, and he threw them down. So from this action of Rabbi Yochanan biting his fingernails with his teeth and he's throwing them down, the Gemara is going to extrapolate 3 halachas. Shema mina tlas. It's always interesting. Shema mina uses always to extrapolate 3 halachas. It's very interesting, or very often. Shema mina mutter lito b'tzipranayim b'chol shamoid. It's mutter to cut your nails in chol hamoed. 1. 2. Ushma mina ein behem mishum mius. To do it with your teeth is not considered something that's mayus. That's disgusting. Ushma mina mutter lezarkan. It's mutter to go ahead down and throw your fingernails down. Now, it's one of the funny halachas that everyone seems to remember, that when cut the fingernails, they should be very careful to dispose of them, because if a pregnant woman walks over the nails, they may miscarry. It's a very, very well known. It's in brachas. It's in brachas. It's a very, very, very known halacha. It's a very, very, very interesting halacha that's very, very well known. And the Gemara asks right away, how can you tell me that you're able to go ahead and throw down your fingernails like Rabbi Yochanan did? But Tanya shleisha devarim nemru b'tzipanayim. 3 things are stated regarding tzipanayim. Hakoivim, those who bury them. Tzaddik, is it tzaddik? Sarfam, chassid. Someone who goes ahead and burns them is considered a pious individual. I found in the halacha, guys, if you flush them down the toilet, it's also equal to burning, flushing one's nails down the toilet. Zark in Russia. So how could Rabbi Yochanan have bitten his nails off and thrown them down and say it's mutter to do? You see that a person who does that's called a Russia. And for the Gemara, what are you worried about? Maybe a pregnant woman will go ahead and walk over the nails with tapel, right? And go ahead and miscarry. Isha be midrasha lo shchicha. A woman in the base medrash is not shayach. Where did Rabbi Yochanan throw them down? He was in the base medrash. A woman will not be in the base medrash. The chitema, if you're going to say good, they're not in the base medrash now, but zimnin de menach shelahu, right? They're going to go ahead and clean the base medrash and sweep the floor. V'shadu lahu la'abroi, and they're going to go ahead and throw the nails outside. Kivin the ishtani. Once it's changed in makomos ishtani. That we said that the person's nails can cause a woman to miscarry is only if they remain in the same locale as they were when they were disposed of. But if, on the other hand, they get moved around, then we don't say that. So in the base medrash, women are not in the base medrash, so you don't have to worry them walking about in their place. And if they get swept out, they're not in their place anymore. So they don't have that potency of so there's very interesting pshatim as to why a woman would miscarry. Is it a practical reason or a heebie-jeebie stuff? One pshat, it's a dover moyes, it's disgusting, and her disgust will cause it to go ahead right and. On the other hand, when you walk over them, again, if the other thing is the heebie-jeebie stuff. Now, I would think the heebie-jeebie stuff would make a little more sense, because there are many things a woman could walk over that would be very disgusting, that wouldn't cause a miscarriage. It doesn't say walking over feces in the street, dog feces or that. Plus, if it's something to be disgusted by, why would be Moshe just whispered in my ear? Why would be a difference in locale? If it's her disgust, she could be disgusted the same way where it fell down or where it ended up. It would be the same disgust. Bishlam, we tell me it's a heebie-jeebie thing, some spiritual thing. So that spiritual thing would only be in the place where it falls down. Conversely, once it's moved, it's not there anymore. Just interesting hara. Yeah.
I thought it has to do with Adam and Chava, that she had her nails, that she was has to do with that she was, nails in the.
I thought that's the reason by Havdalah, you look at your nails.
Yeah, but I also thought it was this also. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, what do you say? Okay. Yeah. Anyway, weiter. Amar Yehuda Marab. Zug bo mechamsin lefnei Rebbe. A group of Talmidei Chachamim came from the town of Chamsin in front of Rebbe. Mazutra mashni zug bo mechamsin lefnei Rebbe. It was Mazutra who learned that a zug came from Chamsin lefnei Rebbe. Ubikshim imenu, and they asked the following question: Tziparnayim v'hit lehem. Tziparnayim. He said, "What's the halacha of cutting tziparnayim?" There's machlokas rishonim. Is it speaking b'mei avelis or on the moed? And he v'hit lehem, and Rebbe mated them. Then bikshu imenu safa, and he would have asked them about trimming the mustache. Hit lehem, he would have mated that as well. Ushmul Amar af bikshu imenu safa. They in fact did ask him not only regarding the nails, but also regarding the mustache. This is definitely going to get in the blog. They went ahead and decided right about the mustache. And he permitted the trimming of the mustache. So Amar Vital Safra Mishmei Derav Papa Safa Mizavis Lazavis. The mustache you can trim from one corner to the other corner. You can trim the mustache from one corner to the other corner. Amravami ubesafa hamakeves. It has to be that the mustache is impeding you from eating food. Now the halacha is in the 3 weeks, in the times we can't take haircuts, we're able to trim the mustache, right? But not to trim it that it should look neater, just to ensure that it should not impede your food. So this is halacha. Right? Kisafa hamakeves dami. He says Nachman Yitzchak seemed to have been a mephonik. He says a big mephonik, and he says that my mustache, even if it's not ma'akiv, the one is considered as if it is ma'akiv. Now, since we mention this often in Shas, when you have a unique individual with a conversation, that you'll bring in all his statements. So now we're going to have a total digression having nothing to do with the avelus or the moed of cutting hair, but these were stated by the person as Avital, the Sofer Mishmei Derav Papi. He said, what did he say? The Paro Shohay B'mei Moshe, Paro, that was the name of Moshe, who Amma, he was an Amma tall, who's a Kana Amma, and his beard was an Amma, Upamashtaktoi Amma, Vizeres, and his feet and his male part of his body was Amma Vizeres and a half Amma. The Kaima Shnemar, to go ahead and fill and the pasuk says ushval, is that pasuk? Ushefal anoshim yikim alei. Now there's a marsha over here that describes this is all metaphorical. That obviously he was not such a tall man. Obviously he wasn't such a tall man according to this. But to say that part of his body would be longer, and to say that his zakim was as long as his body, these are very, 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 very difficult things to say. Okay, so the Marshas is very good. Not that it needs my askama. He said that when he says that he was an Amma, means he was a low life. He was taller than an Amma, but he was a low life. And that the beauty of a person is his zakim, is his beard. And that means this person in his mind, the length of the beard, it equaled his height, to show that he was so much into his looks and everything. And the fact that his Amma was longer, an Amma Bezeres, to show that he was a manuvel, that he was totally involved in znus and immorality. So those are the metaphors of the Gemara. The Gemara speaks this way often and shouldn't be taken literally. For Omar Avital Safra Mishmei Papa, Parish Moshe Amgushi Hoya. He was an Amgushi. Either he was a sorcerer or he was a Megadef. Either he was a magician or what he cursed Hashem. Shenemar Hine Yotze HaMaima. He went to the Maima, and there Rashi brings he either went to the bathroom to make himself into an Avodah Zarah or to als black magic. And these are the ones who can go ahead and go ahead and wash in the Moed. Someone comes from overseas, and we said someone who came out of prison, someone came out of captivity. Heshkian mentioned this earlier. A person who only has one tunic, he's always to go ahead and can wash it on the Moed. You might remember, Gemara we said earlier, fellas. We said that how could you let him do this? That everyone will say that the surikin, the matzahs that are imprinted are asa for srike basis mutarim. That we said. So how can you let him do this if no one else can wash it? How can you wash it? So we said that the belt, the fact that it's a belt on it will show that he only has one tunic, or else he would have taken it out to use on his other one. So this is the halacha that a person has only one tunic is mechapsim b'chol shel moed. Maser of Yirmiyah, el mechapsim b'moed, abam b'medinas hayam, hani in mishen lechalik loy. In other words, in our list of the people who had a waiver to go ahead and wash in Chol Moed, he wasn't part of the list. And that's a Tanaic statement. So how can Rabbi Yochanan, who was an Amoira, the Rav is saying his name, that he argued with that? So Amalei Rabbi Yaakov the Ravdimi, Azblecha. Masnisan, I'm Mishnah that limited to those few people. Afagav the Islay tray, umitanfe, even if you have two, you would be able to go ahead and wash it. In other words, the chiddush of those other ones is that if they have two and they're dirty, you could wash it. But certainly if a person has one, you could wash it. So there's a chiddush in them that's not by this one. So therefore it wasn't listed. Shalach Rav Yitzchak by Yaakov bar Giyuri Mishmeit Rabbi Yochanan, Kli Pishtan Mutal Chapsan. Kli Pishtan, you're permitted to go ahead and wash in Chol Moed. It seems that it's not a tircha to press it. It seems like a lot of it is to do with tircha, the washing process, and this is not a tircha. B'chol Shel Moed. Masav Rava. Rabbi asked the following: Netbachos Yadayim, things that we used to wash our hands with, hand towels. Netbachos Amid Beis. Netbachos Saparim, the sheets that are used by what? By barbers. Hani in Kli Pishtan Loy. So how could you tell me that what? How could Kli Pishtan? How could Yitzchak by Yaakov saying that Rabbi Yochanan that Kli Pishtan you could? Mashma from over here, a brisa Kli Pishtan you can't. Some way Abayim Astis, I feel the sham meaning. That even sham meaning, when it says over here that you could wash hand towels and wash the spurim, it's lav dafka Kli Pishtan, it's anything, even semer, right? That you could. But and Mashain King Kli Pishtan, that's a different halacha. Amarav Hidya Lididi Chazili Yom Tfarya. I saw the Yam of Tfarya, the Mafikle Mashkile, the Mane Kisna B'chol the Moed. People brought down bowls of what? Of linen clothing to go ahead and wash in Chol Moed. So we want to bring a raya to Rabbi Yochanan. Maskva Abaya, Man Leimelon Dibaratzon Chacham Mavdi. How do you know they were doing the correct thing? Dilma Shlei Baratzon Chacham Mavdi. Maybe they were not doing the right thing about a Kli Pishtan. I mean, the halacha is usually Chol Moed, we don't wash clothing except in extenuating circumstances like children's clothing that are apt to get dirty, diapers and things like that of that nature. Again, you're supposed to be misameach on the moed. You're not supposed to be in pain on the moed. But usually people wash. I know my wife washes beforehand enough laundry that we have on the moed. It says the Mishnah, the elu koistin in moed. Now, guys, a dover ovid we discussed earlier. A dover ovid would be mutter and chol moed. That's the beginning of the Masechta. Mashkin beis hashlachim. Beis hashlachim is an irrigated field. You're going to take a monetary loss unless you go ahead and wash the field, and therefore you could do it. Provided there's no tircha. The following Mishnah are things that you could do that there would be a loss, because if you don't do it now, you may not get another chance. Okay, that seems to be a common thing between the things you could write, that if you don't do it now, you may not get a chance to do it. You may take a loss. The elu koisvim moed. These are the things you're able to write on the moed. Kedushay noshim. Rashi says shtaris of kedushin. We know a woman is acquired in three ways: bekesef, b'shtar, ubebiyah. So shtar, this is a shtar kedushin, and therefore you'll be able to write that. Maybe you don't get married now, you won't get married after the moed. Well, no, this is not marriage, guys. This is erison. Again, there's two parts to marriage. There's the erison, what we call betrothal, which is not really true, because when we are engaged, we're not married. We'll see that you could get engaged in Chol Moed, and this engagement is really a shtar erison, that's shtar kedushin, but you're not living with your wife yet. But you could write this in Chol Moed. For gittin, you could write gittin. Now, gittin usually is like you're writing a get that, let's say you have to go away. You're writing a get that chas v'shalom, that if something happens to you and no one knows about it, that if you don't return by a certain date, your wife will be retroactively divorced, and you don't have to worry about her remaining an aguna. So this is something, again, something if you don't do now, you can't do. It's a davar of it. You won't be able to do it again. The shoivrim, a receipt. A guy wants a document that a loan was paid up. He may not pay you up unless he gets a receipt back. And you know what? The big thing is when a guy comes to you, pay back money, take it. Don't say, "Oh, it's okay. I'll take the money tomorrow." The guy comes to pay you back. Take the money now. Don't wait till tomorrow. No, one never knows what might happen. Daitiki, right? A daitiki is a star of a shchiv meirah. He's dying. And he wants his dying words to his will as he's dying. That's avli davar avud. Matana. Again, don't look at a gift what's in the mouth. You're getting a matana now. Prusbolin. A prusbol, of course, is the star that allows a loan to be extended beyond the Shemitah year, that the Shemitah year doesn't take it off. That's a davar avud. Igorois shum, a property evaluation, exactly how much it's worth. That when Yisayim are coming to divide up a property, they'll know it's worth. Vigeris mazoin, to go ahead, a letter saying that you're going to go ahead and support a child. A woman, usually a man gets married, and his wife brings a daughter into marriage. So now he has a stepdaughter. So he's going to write a shtar to go ahead and provide for that stepdaughter. Shtari chalitza, a shtar of chalitza that was performed. Umi unun, a shtar mion. Okay, just quickly, we'll do this quickly in Yavamis, but for those people who never heard the term mion before, the only one who can marry off a katana is a father. But if a father dies and we want to go ahead and protect the virtue of the katana, that she should be protected by being married, her brother or mother can marry her off. This kedushin is kedushin de rabbanan. And if at the time of she turns of age, being a naira, she refuses the marriage, she doesn't need a get because she was only married midrabanan. That shtar is called mion. So therefore, you're able to go write this. Ushtari birurin, shtari in Bezdin. Each one picks what. Each one picks their own dayan. Gezeres Bezdin can be written down. V'igrish shel rishus and igerish shel rishus. Rashi says that from the government. Okay. But birurin that you pick a dayan. You pick this one. You pick this one.
In case of this, you will enter or agreeing to.
Birurin Bezdin chelik zel ezeh v'chelik zel ezeh. Rashi doesn't learn like me. I learned that shtar birurin is you're able to pick a dayan for dealing monistic case. Rashi seems to say in the shtar birurin in a property. Okay, we'll get we'll get into this. Okay, says the Gemara Vayt. Amashmo umutal ares. This is a very famous Gemara. Amashmo mutal ares ishta b'chol shamoy. It's permitted to get engaged chol shamoy. Now again, guys, engagement means that you're married to this woman. You just don't live together yet. So it's mutter to go ahead, and you're writing a shtar kedushin. Erisin and kedushin are synonymous terms. The term erisin and kedushin are synonymous. So it's like Rashi said in the Mishnah, it's mutter to write a shtar, hariyat mekudeshes li, you are mekudeshes to me. It's mutter to do that on the Moed. Shem yikadmenu acher, perhaps someone else will beat you to the punch. If you don't do it, perhaps someone's going to come along and take her away from you. Lema Messiah, I'll bring you a proof. Ve'elu kaisim b'Moed, kiddushin nashim. My love shtar kedushin mamish. So you see that from our Mishnah, a raya to Shmuel's din says Malay shtari psikta. Maybe our Mishnah is speaking about a shtar of each one of the parents of the couple, the father and the mother, each one saying what they're willing to give towards the dowry of the young couple. How much are you going to give to your son? Kach v'kach. Come out and in the bitcha. How much you're going to give to your daughter? Kach v'kach. Amdu v'kitshu. As soon as the kedusha takes place, kana. Each one they acquire that what the amount that each one promised. And these things that are acquired with ba'amira. So according to this, you don't have a raya to Shmuel's din when it said shtar kedushin in the Mishnah. It meant shmach. It could be shtar psikta of kedushin, a shtar that each one is giving in, but it's not the actual shtar that facilitates the kedushin. So you have, in other words, you don't have a raya from the Mishnah. Lema Messiah, now we'll try to bring you a raya to Shmuel's din that when it says on Chol Moed, you could write, it means a Shtar Kedushin. Shtar Erusin Kedushin, a Shtar that this is your wife. Ain't Noisim Noshim B'Moed. You can't get married on the Moed. Now, guys, married means Nesuin, to live together as man and wife, which usually took place 12 months after the Erusin. Ain't Noisim Noshim B'Moed. Loi Besulas, whether they were never married before. V'loi Almanas, where they were previously married and the husband died. Nor do you perform yibum to your brother's wife, your dead brother's wife, because it's a simcha. In other words, and we saw this far already. It's either going to go ahead and take away from the simchas yontif, or you can aim arvin simcha b'simcha. You don't do it together. That's the actual marriage. Hala ares, but to get married, meaning not to live together, but the act of taking this woman as your wife. That's shari, that would be permitted. Says Solachira, you have a raya. Says the you have no raya. Loi mi boy kamar. Loi mi boy la'aris deloi kavim mitzvah. Elafilu lisa nosh nami the kavim mitzvah asa. So again, you wanted to bring a raya that you could get married. You can't do nisuin on the moed, but you can do kedushin on the moed. Gemara says, "Let me boy." Not only nisuin, when you're going to live together as man and wife and be able to mekayim the mitzvah of peri v'rivya, can't you do? But in other words, adarabba, loimi boy erusin, where there's no mitzvah. Why? Because you're not living together. Can't you do? But even nisuin, where you are living together and you could perform a mitzvah, you also can't do. But no raya that you're able to go ahead and get engaged, meaning getting erusin on Chol Moed. We disproved it from the Mishnah and we disproved from the Brisa. So right now, Shmuel's din does not have support that one would be able to go ahead and get engaged on Chol Moed. And again, engagement means really that this is your wife. I keep on repeating that. Says the Gemara, bottom line is, Toshma, the Tani Bei Shmuel, Ma'arsin, you could do Erusin, Avaloi Koinsin, but you can't do Nisuin. You can get engaged, but you can't enter, meaning they can't come to live together. Vein Oisa Sudas Erusin, nor can you make a Suda for an engagement, meaning no Vort. Veloi Miyabmim, if they Simchi Loi, Shmamina, a clear raya that says what? Me'arsin, you could get married, you could get engaged in Chol Moed. In fact, people do. They don't have a vart, they don't have a l'chaim, they don't have anything, but you could get engaged in Chol Moed. Why? Shemu yukadmenu acher. What are you worried about? You're worried about what? Someone else coming along and taking away your wife. Now, this gets into a very fascinating discussion. If your bashert was decreed 40 days before you were born, why would you have to worry about Shem Yukadmenu Acher? If she's supposed to be your wife, she's going to be your wife, right? So what are you worried about? This is very, very interesting. This was my Sheva Brachas Torah, by the way. I spoke this out by Sheva Brachas. And Bez Hashem, if I remember, I'll speak it out by the end of the year. I answered up a Tosfos Kasha. Okay, let's see. Says the Gemara. El Shem Yukadmenu Acher B'Rachman. What are you worried about? Shmuel are really worried that someone else is going to come along and take away your wife. Each and every day, Baskol Yoitza, a Baskol will go out, Voimeres, and it would decree, Bas Ploni Leploni. So and so gets married to so and so. Sodom Ploinus Leploni. A field of so and so belongs to so and so, this particular field. So what are you worried about? It's all been predetermined. And the Gemara, El Hashem Yukadmenu Acher B'Rachamim, maybe someone else with Rachamim could go ahead and get her. Maybe someone. Now, there's the concept of Basheret, but it doesn't mean that there aren't other factors that you could lose it. I'll give you a great example. We just had the Gemara with David and Bathsheba. How if the Gemara says, Ru'uya hoisa Bathsheba basaliyim leDavid meisheshes yemei bereshis. From the beginning of time, this was his wife. Who does she end up marrying? Uriah Achiti. What happened? What happened to the contract with Bashert? And we spoke out that since David, when he was killing Goliath, after he killed Goliath, he wanted to cut off his head, and he couldn't get the knife, the sword out of the scabbard. The weapons carrier was there. David said, "How do you get it out?" Weapons carrier said, "What's in it for me?" So he goes, "What do you want?" He goes, "I want a Bas Yisrael." David says, "Done." That weapons carrier was Uriah Achiti. And Hashem said, "You give away a Jewish girl, I'll give away yours." So you see, there are events that can influence what? A Bashert. So here's the Lashon, guys. Shem Yukavenu Acher, one word. Birachamim. A person's davening could go ahead, in fact, and take away a Bashert. A person's davening could. Bashert does not mean this one is right for you. It doesn't mean you're going to end up with that one. That's the Chiddush of the Gemara. She was supposed to be for you. There's no guarantee she will be for you. For what's the case? The Rava, Shamelu Gavra, he heard this person, the boy Rachme, he heard this individual. And this individual, what was he doing? Right? This individual, he was davening, and he said a very, very interesting feeling. What did he say? The boy Rachme was davening, V'amar, Tizdamin li planisa. I want to marry so and so. So Amalei, Rabbi said to him, don't daven like that. Why? If she's supposed to be for you, she'll be for you. And if he's not supposed to be for you, then what's going to happen? And you'll think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not answer your tefillah. So nothing good can happen. So after that, Rabbi heard the same person saying, I should die before her, that I shouldn't see her marry somebody else. Or she should die before me. In other words, so Amalei, then I tell you what, you shouldn't daven. Now, what do you see from here? That tefillah could influence it, right? That tefillah can influence it. If she was supposed to be for this guy, why would she die? I mean, again, so you see, tefillah could go ahead and influence. Amar Rav Mishum Rav Ruvain Bar Itztarubli Min HaTorah Min Avim Min HaKsuvim Me'Hashem Isha LeIsha. We have in the Torah, in the Avim and Kesuvim that what? That Shidduchim are made. That a certain man, woman is supposed to be a certain man. Min HaTorah Dechsev Vayan Lavan Besuel, after Lavan and Besuel Vayomer Me'Hashem Yetzidava, when Eliezer proposed the Shidduch. So they said, what could we do? It's all from Hashem. So you see a raya that what from the Torah, that's the way it's supposed to be. Min Nevi'im, Dichsiv, what does it say by Nevi'im? It says by Shimshon, that Shimshon says he wanted to take a wife from the Plishtim, and his mother's father did not know that. It was all from Hashem. Min HaKsuvim, what does it say by the Ksuvim? Bayis v'hoin nachlas avois, u'mi Hashem isha maskeles. So from an intelligent woman, she goes, it's all from Hashem. So you see that what? Toinavim Ksuvim, it's all done. Now, since we mentioned the teachings of Rav and Rav Ruvain, we're going to go ahead and again say over a bunch of statements that he said. Rav Mishum Rav Ruvain Bar Itztabili, V'imri Lo B'Mastis Antana, Omer Rav Ruvain Bar Itztabili, Ein Adam Nechsha B'Davel Kein Asu. If there's smoke, there's fire. In other words, if a person is suspicious of doing a certain Aveira, it must be he did the Aveira. The Gemara is going to ask on that stark. If he didn't do part, the whole Aveira, he did part of the Aveira, and if he didn't do part of the Aveira, he thought about doing it, and he didn't think about doing it, he saw other people doing it and he was happy. Okay, now we're going to ask on the first statement. Mashma, if a person is suspicious, he must be he did it. Master Rav Yaakov, it says by the Asar Shvatim, so you see that what they located, they didn't do that. They were accused of it, but they didn't do it. So how can you tell me that you're accused, if you're suspicious you did it? It says that really they did it in order to make they knew that in truth that there was no they knew the truth that there was no basis behind what they did. They just simply did it to anger Hashem. So the statement is just a statement of what of lahachas to get Hashem angry, but again, there really was no suspicion in the first place. Tashma, again, the same concept If there's smoke, there's fire. If there's suspicion, there's what? There must be an Aveira. It says by Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayekanu leMoshe b'machne. They were jealous of Moshe in the machne. LaAaron Kodesh Hashem. And of Aaron, Rabbi Shmuel by Yitzchak Amar, Melamed shekol echad kino liishtem Moshe. Every man in Klal Yisrael warned his wife not to be secluded in Moshe. Now, obviously, Moshe was above all this. So you're telling me you saw that the suspicion, the smoke, this fire. You're telling me later Moshe Rabbeinu was with other. I won't even say it. So Hasam Mishum Sinahu David. Again, the suspicion is tainted, guys. In other words, suspicion has to be without tainted. Over here, it was jealousy. Since it was tainted with jealousy, there's no way the suspicion was a real suspicion. Toshma, again, questioning this idea of suspicion. Rabbi Yosi, Chelki mi shechshudim oisa b'dava. My chelik should be among the people that the chayish for the ein boy. And in fact, what? There's no truth to it. That's what he said. And this is a very good kapara. It's a very good kapara. People be chayish you, and there's no truth there. Rav Papa, l'didi choshtun v'lehavi. Some of them suspect me of something, and it wasn't true. So you see that you can be above suspicion. It says Malikasha, ha b'kol the pasik, ha b'kol the pasik. Rabbi Yosef Papa was speaking about a rumor that they did an Aveira, but that rumor stopped. And Reuven, when he said that suspicion is where that rumor goes on and 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 goes on, it doesn't stop. How long is it a kol until it's considered a kol that's not pasuk? Rabbi, really aim again. His nanny told him, Doime de masa yuma upalga, right? That in the masa in the city, mamish for a day and a half. That's a koiled le pasuk. Bahani mil le pasuk beni beni. That's only that what? The day and a half is only where it didn't stop and start. Our pasuk beni beni less than both. But again, if during that day and a half it started, nothing to talk about. The pasuk beni beni, even when it stopped started, le amarin el le pasuk machmas yira because of fear. They scared of. Retribution. Then taka there is a rumor. There's a rumor to it. It's just people stop because of basis. And again, there's so many addendums to this halacha. It didn't come up again after it stopped. But if it pops up again, then there must be something behind it. The person has no enemies. If you have enemies, then oivim hu da'afka kol, they're the one who started the coil, they're the one who started the rumor, and therefore there is nothing to worry about, that you are above reproach and suspicion. Thank you everyone again for listening. It's great to see everybody.